I'm kind of in a, if you haven't noticed, kind of made a channel, a following off of attributing most of society's ills to women. And I'm very aware that I do this. Um, and I'm very aware that I could be wrong about all this. Okay. Um, I struggle a lot with being uncertain about these things, with being uncertain about what I say about women, whether it's true or not. Um, whether I'm right or not. I try to stay away from saying things that are right. I don't, maybe I don't believe in saying things that are right. I believe in saying things that I think and believe. And I don't necessarily think that they're right. Just just because I'm saying something or I have an opinion or this is what I believe or think or this is for whatever reason all the events in my life that have made me who I am up until today, you know, for whatever reason, this is just who I am and what I say and what I believe. And I'm very aware that this is all happening. And yet there's a part of me that um, thinks that this, this is, it's like I'm watching myself, like I'm watching myself. It's like an out of body experience where I'm just kind of watching myself do this. And I just kind of, you, I can't really stop it. I can't really stop it for whatever reason. I'm saying these things and I'm doing these things and this is what I believe. And it is a very true thing. I do actually feel these things, right? I'm not just faking it. I'm not putting up this front. But in the same sense, I'm not so much in it that I can't see myself outside of it or step outside of it and see myself and think maybe you're just an idiot. um, maybe you'll look back one day and you'll just be like, wow, I was wrong about everything. Um, I, there's a huge part of my mind that evaluates the things that I say in this channel. Obviously I've made a huge following of bashing women and attributing most of society's ills to women, and I'm fairly uh, have a fairly bleak and nihilistic view and dystopian view, black pilled view on women, and I think that we all live in a female's mind, and we are in the female matrix, and what you think is the matrix is actually just it's actually just a female constructed matrix. It's just the female mind, basically, that men have grown up in for the last century or two. Um, but you know, I see all that, and um, but I have this mind where I think, um, it's very influenced by this sort of Eastern philosophy, and not just conceptually that I or theoretically that I understand this, Eastern philosophy of, sort of empty your mind. If you have a problem with anything in the outside world, whether it be politics or women or religion or your job or your status, your money, your looks, anything that you could possibly have an issue with, anything that you have a problem with in the outside world is actually, it's just a problem with yourself. This is a very simple view, and I find it very intellectually lazy. It doesn't mean that it's not true experientially, I guess. And in my experience, I have come to sort of realize that maybe the Eastern side of things is on to something. Um, and so, I look at what I do, and I think clearly I'm just a person who I have issues with myself, or I'm creating issues with the world, right? I'm deluding myself into thinking that women are bad and that they're wrong and they're radicalized and feminist, and they've they basically brainwashed men into handing them power and more power and more power, and all the while still telling them you're not doing enough, you're still oppressing us, and shame on you. And um, they seem to have this sort of just complete psychological stranglehold on the males in the entire male species. And and it's such an extreme view, right? And we're conditioned to think that extreme is bad, and that saying anything bad about women is bad, and saying anything bad about the world and other people is just a reflection of yourself. And if you kind of sense where I'm going here, it seems like maybe the only what I'm what I also have a suspicion of is that that entire thing is a psychological operation in and of itself. To have a problem with women, or to want reality to be a certain way, to have preferences, to be selfish, to acknowledge that there are differences between men and women, that there are differences between races, um, that men are more suited and capable to certain things, and women are more suited and capable to other things, um, and to attribute, all of to sort of paint a whole half of the species as sort of bad or an enemy, is quite an extreme view, and it's at odds with this sort of, you know accept everything and have tolerance and love and don't judge and let everything be as it is, and freedom, right? Freedom, tolerance, acceptance, love, trust. And these are all nice bubbly words, and they're great. And these seem to be very Eastern tradition sort of things. And a lot of these things are what Jesus preached about, and all the Gandhi and all the spiritual leaders and gurus they preached about. But I the one thing that really bothers me is that all these things are also very feminine. All these traits are very feminine, at least in performance, right? Because women, obviously, at least I believe that men and women operate at a base level, fundamental level. They operate in a very callous, calculated, unforgiving, natural selection, biological drive sort of way. And, this whole, which would have been obvious when, we're in the jungle, or in the hills or the forest, in the in Greenland, or or in the wilderness, when we were in tribes, and everything was very cutthroat, and people could, a tribe could come in the night and kill you, or an animal could attack you, or people died usually by the age of 25 or 30, and women needed men to protect them from other men raping them and killing them and all this stuff, right? So all of that brutalness was very clear and out in the open. But in society as it is today, modern society, we've created such convenience and abundance and comfort, and we've created this sort of illusion around us of, you know, niceness, where we can all pretend like we're good people. we can all pretend. We can pretend like it's about, women can, get a hold of Hollywood and all the media and the movies and start to brainwash young women into believing in this idea of men are constantly have to chase you, and you can be disagreeable, and you can act very characteristically masculine. You be disagreeable, be hard to please, be rude, be disrespectful, be violent towards men, have your own mind, have your own freedom, have your own identity, have your own wants. And men are just gonna chase you and chase you and chase you and chase you and chase you until they can, and it's and that's what uh, you should tolerate nothing less. A man has to completely desire you and all this stuff. It's conditioning men in sort of the same way, but more so young women. And you know, it, they have there's this whole sort of umbrella, this cocoon that we're all living in. Of It's this feminine cocoon where I feel like all the same brutal biological drives, uh, cold, calculated things still drive us, but none of us are admitting it, and we're all controlled. Men are now controlled by what women think of them, and by things like freedom and independence, and um, tolerance and diversity, and acceptance and openness, and everything's love, right? And it's all nice. It all sounds really great, and to go against that, to it just there's so much societal pressure to go against that, because you would be somebody that, what, you don't want people to be free, you don't want people to all be equal, you don't want people to be tolerant and loving and be independent and have the, make their own choices and all this stuff. You don't want that. How can you not want that? And that is a framework that doesn't actually, that sort of castigating and shaming anybody who thinks uh, against that or thinks contrary to that. That sort of thing is very feminine in that it's shaming, but it's not actually looking at the consequences of tolerance, of full love and acceptance, of full freedom, of full, tolerance and everything. It doesn't actually look at the consequences of this, right? And I think what men are starting to realize is the consequences of make believe and a bunch of good buzzwords and all this, what conveniently just happens to be modern sort of spirituality. And I get that this is a great ideal, right? It all sounds very good, and it's fuzzy and it's warm. And how could you go against it? You're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist, you're a Nazi, you're all this stuff if you go against it. But the thing is, men don't operate on, yeah, when it gets to a certain point, when the birth rate starts to plummet, and women now start to um, make fools of men in their own homes, and start to steal half of their stuff, and start to steal their kids from them, and start to laugh all the way to the bank. And they start to still blame men for all these things happening, and still it's somehow men's fault. Men start to, or at least I would hope, you know, they start to kind of be like, you know what? Maybe we got to rethink this whole thing. Maybe we got to start being the bad guys because we're going to be the bad guys anyway. We're going to be the bad guys no matter what we do because we just spent a whole century trying to give women more freedom and more power, and now they're in the workplace and they're equal jobs, and there's diversity quotas in schools, and there's diversity quotas in all corporations, and it has to be a certain percentage women in all these places, and all these things. It's no longer meritocratic. It's no longer just based on who's the best of the best, who's the most qualified candidate, who's the most capable. Every job or position that goes to a woman is one that could have gone to a man. Always keep that in mind. And so women are just actually replacing men in a lot of these things. And are they actually better than them? I would argue probably not. But you know, men, what I would hope is that men somehow get to a point where they can be the bad guys again, for the sake of the outcomes. You have to look at what will help the species, what will help the birthing rate go up, what will help um, you know children being raised right and not having issues, and what will help women be happy and satisfied. Maybe get them off birth control. Maybe that's doing crazy harm to them. Maybe get them off all their meds. If they are off the birth control, I think that's mainly why these women are just so masculine and so awful. And they hate us. They're not actually attracted to us. They have no desire to have babies. Yeah, you don't have a desire to have babies because you shut off all your natural hormones. You're wondering why you're getting to age, 35 and 38, and you've never wanted to have a kid. It's because you were probably taking birth control your entire life and you've never actually been a woman. You don't even know what it feels like to be a woman. So if you actually stop taking birth control and let your natural hormones come back, if they even do come back, because for how long you've been taking them, you're probably infertile and you're probably just too far gone at this point. But if they do come back, then you'll actually feel what it's like to be a woman, and you'll be like, oh, I want kids. I actually am attracted to a man now. Oh, I'm attracted to this. Oh, I actually see good things in him now. I just feel like we're living in this sort of psychological operation where just women have completely, they've obliterated us, dude. And men are just fully asleep at the wheel. Women are also, they're kind of asleep, because they don't see consequences. It's inherently in women to not see consequences. They want approval, right? They want approval. And they're starting to condition men to, or they have conditioned men for a while now, to seek approval just like them, to think like them, to have fears like them, to have shame like them, and to not be to not think selfishly. But the thing is, women espouse all these things, and yet these are only performative, right? They're only performance. Women actually function in a very callous way, to get power. In the same they function exactly the same way. To get power over men, to get the best deal. They're trying to uh, get the most resources and the best bang for their buck, and then the most attractive man and the most emotionally intelligent man and the most witty man and funny man has the best status, and also will give her kids and maybe give her the most freedom too, so she can have her cake and eat it too, sort of thing. And women will try to continue to get their best deal. And so I have these sort of two minds that are sort of battling here, where I sometimes I think, maybe what I'm saying on this channel is all wrong, and I'm just, I'm uncertain about it. But as soon as I start to be uncertain, I always start to feel women are just like, yeah, you're actually wrong, blah blah blah. Like, they seize on uncertainty. They literally latch onto it. They love uncertainty in a man because it's fertile soil. It's the fertilest soil to plant their little seeds of doubt and shame, and yeah, you should think about this, and yeah, you're really wrong about this, and how could you do this, and I think the right thing would be this, and it's just the fertilest soil to start to work on a man's mind, and I think that's why men. It's why we have been so selfish. Why, for all of human history, men have been so selfish and certain, and not listening to women is because we had to be. Because when you do, if you didn't have that trait, and then you get shit like this, you get societies like this, and so when I have that uncertainty, I always reel it back, and there's some sort of I have a instinctual, just sort of, I can't do that because women prey on that, they pounce on that, and I'm food for them if I'm ever uncertain, and so I have to be certain. But then when you're certain about things, they say, how can you be so close-minded and selfish and certain and not tolerant of other views and not open and not accepting and not loving? Is that loving? And blah 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 blah. And there's all this just shame, bro. All this just shame, moral weaponizing, and it's all the same psychological operation. And I'm just so sick of it. I'm just so done with it. I've seen through it. I've seen through all the bullshit, and I'm willing to be alone for the rest of my life if it means that I think that I'm sane. I think that I'm a sane person amongst an entire society of insane people. You know, people that are just asleep, that just have no idea what's going on, that just want comfort, and it's more important for them to have a girlfriend than to structure the relationship of what it looks like. To have a woman that looks up to them and listens to them and submits to them and does nice things for them and wouldn't and doesn't try to control them and actually empowers them and wants him to be better. And uh, that's just not the society we live in. And you just have all these dudes that are completely asleep at the wheel, and women are just taking, they're just they're just completely churning us up. And you know they're gonna make me feel like I'm crazy. You live alone, you live in a basement, you're bitter, and you and you talk on a YouTube channel all the time, and it just goes to show you have no women in your life. No, 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 no. There's another possibility, actually, is that I'm actually way ahead of the time, and I'm waiting for everybody to catch up. Yeah, I'm a person who knows what's true regardless of everything else that's going on around me. And I know that this all is not right. It doesn't feel right. I know it's right, right? All men, I think they have a deep, the more you get in tune, the more not society. Society doesn't dictate. For women, society dictates. I don't think they have that internal sort of knowing. I think society dictates, but what's true for them. Um, but then there's this whole spiritual thing of like men and women are both spiritual beings and they're both highly capable and all that stuff. And so again, I have uncertainty with that and I struggle with that. But do certain men and women get to a certain point where they no longer even care about this whole game that's going on, this sort of societal game, uh, this material world game that's sort of playing out? Do you start to rise above it and you just don't really care anymore, and you can sort of operate without the strings attached? And I don't know, maybe, but does that really apply to a lot of people that watch these videos? I mean, I don't think anybody would really be interested in that. They're more interested in the material world, in the game that's going on, in the in the matrix, in the simulation. So you got to work with what you got to you got to work in a certain way here. But anyway. Yes, I've bought some Tool merch. Okay, fuck you. I don't give a shit. I've uh, I've been binge listening to like all their albums, and you know, this is just what I do. Just what I do. I'm just, you know, there's nothing to do. There's no women. There's no future. I'm black pilled to hell, so I'm just watching rom coms and waiting for the void to consume me. And in the meantime, I'll just buy Tool merch and band merch that I like. It's little things, you know. It's the little things. You gotta do the things that cheer you up. But yeah, that's it. That's the video.